Hello guys, good evening. Welcome back to Vision NLP Core Python Training Part 7. So today's table of content will be we are going to see what we have done last day, just a quick review, and then we are going to see some libraries which are really important for Python programming. In Python programming, basically if you are interested to do your career in career related to data science and all, so basically the two libraries called pandas and numpy, which are the basic libraries which are very important in Python programming. Okay, so in last day's lecture we have seen classes and objects, basically object oriented programming. From in that we first showed we have defined how to define a class, basic, very basic basic classes, then how to provide how to instantiate that class, then how to assign different values to that class. Okay, then now what are attributes in that class. So also we have seen what is instance, also instance attributes, how to define instance attributes, what are object attributes and all. Then we have seen inheritance. What is so what is exactly inheritance? Inheritance is like calling one of class into another class. Okay, so basically what does this mean? There are basically two classes, one is parent class and another is child class, and child class can call each and every function that is called that is defined in the parent class. So this is the concept of inheritance. And now today we are going to see libraries such as pandas and numpy. Okay, so what is pandas? So pandas is a software library which is used for data manipulation and analysis. So basically wherever you go you can see the applications of pandas, and it is really flexible to use pandas library for data manipulation, and whatever we want to do with the data that can be done in pandas if there is so this is the basic application of pandas library. Okay, and how to install pandas library. So for that you have to make sure your pip is installed, or you are using Jupyter Notebook, and you can install that library using this command. Okay, so pip install pandas. So here I will not run this command once again, because if I run it will again say that requirement already satisfied. That means I have already installed that particular library. So let us import that library in this particular session. So for importing we use import command. So for importing modules we use import command. For importing different Python file, that can be done also using this import command, like and the same way we can import libraries also. So here I have imported my pandas library in a short form named pd. Okay, pandas, so this is pd. Now basically we can define different type of data frames using this pandas library. One data frame is a series type, or we can have a actual data frame. Hello. Actual very big data frames also. The data frame which is having like rows and columns, that type of data frame also can be defined in pandas using this pandas library. So let us see applications of a series. Okay, so so basically by default application of a series, or how we can define a series, is using this command pandas.series. Then we have to place data. The data can be in tuple format, or data can be in np.array array format, or that can be in a list format. Okay, so just a minute, my PC is showing me some problems. Okay, so this is an error that we have not imported this pd, or pd is not defined. That means I forgot to import this particular library, and for that I have to run this particular shell first, and then I can use whatever operations I wanted to do. Okay, so let us import pandas first. Now we will create a series from a list of objects. Okay, so for defining a series using a list, we have to use this command pd.series, and whatever list we have defined, we have to provide that list in this parenthesis. Okay, so this is how we can we can define a series. Now here you can see that the series object, whatever this yes is a series object, and that object has got automatic indexes. All the values are stored in this value format, value column over here in the second column, and these are the indexes. Okay, so whenever we wanted to extract an element from series, we can use these indexes also. And there is another way of defining index also, like these are the by default indexes, which ranges from starts from 0 to onwards. And we can define, or we can provide our own indexes also. Okay, so let me show you how we can extract elements from a series using this uh, it is extracting elements from a series is the same as we extract elements from uh, what we call list or a tuple or a string. Okay, so here we have to give the index number in the square brackets, and yes is the series object. So whatever object has got stored at the first location, it will give with the index number 0. Okay, so like here are 4 maximum, or 3, sorry, and this is how we can extract elements from a series. Now let us give our own indexing to that particular series. Okay, so I have my own data here, like the same list which is having 5 objects A B C D E, and I wanted to assign my own indexes. That means I wanted to give what indexes that are flexible to me to understand, or to remember. Okay, so here when using this type of when providing this type of indexes, we have to give the index command in the parenthesis after this data. Then in square brackets we will provide index equal to, in square brackets we will provide whatever index we want. Okay, so here I have defined 100, 101, 102 and 100 up to 105. Okay, so this will be my index for the list. So here I have skipped 103, and that's why I was able to catch up to 105. So make sure whatever you have defined list that are perfect. Okay, so now let us see how we can define a series from a dictionary. So here I have one dictionary. Now dictionary is uh, always defined in the curly brackets. Then the first value is the key value, and hello, hello, Shubham, hello Shubham, hello, hello Shubham, please make sure your mic is off.
Muted. Unmuted.
Okay, good. Sorry for the disturbance. So let us define a dictionary. The dictionary name is also data, and here there are 3 keys named A, B and C, and we have stored values to that particular key individually as 0, 1 and 2. And let us define a series using the same syntax, that pd dot series, and then data object, whatever object we want to make series of that. So here our data object is of dictionary type. Okay, and then whatever data type we want to give is written over here. So this is how we can define a series from a dictionary. Okay, now like can we define a series from scalar? Like consider if I have provided some if I have given only one value and my index ranges from 1 to 5, or there are I want to repeat that particular value for 5 times, then I can use such type of syntax. Okay, so whenever I provide a single item over here, and I have like 5 range of a 5 in the index, then
Muted.
so So
Unmuted.
there can be like whenever we use this type of syntax, we have to know that this object 4 will get 5 times repeated, or whatever the length of this index is, that times it will get repeated and it will get printed like this. Okay, so this is like defining a series from scalar. Okay, now let us define another series. Let us define another series from a list. Here the list is 0 1 2 3 4 5, and I this example is to show you that we can use strings as an index also. Okay, so previously we have defined a index which is integer type, and for a data which was of string type. Now we can define a series with indexes that are of type string also. Okay, so here the way of defining this type of series is simple, or this is a usual way also for an list. So whatever this is a data, and whatever we want to form a series of, and now in index position we have to give another list which is of strings, and this way we can define a series with indexes as a strings. Okay, now in this type of a series we can extract elements both this index type using this index type, which is which is a string type index. So for extracting we can use this type of statement a, and then in square brackets we can give the index name whatever string it is, and whenever we define a string that should be in quotation. So this way we can extract a value, whatever value that is stored at any index location. Like if I wanted to get a value at d index location, so for that I have to give this d, and it will provide me the value stored at that particular location. And in such a scenarios we can have, or we can retrieve elements using the by default indexing method also. Okay, so here by default indexing method will also range from 0 to 4, and this is our defined indexing method which is from a to e. So we can extract elements from this string using by default indexing method also. So for that we can use the same way as we have extracted elements from list. Okay, so this is all about strings. Now let us move on to data frames. So standard format for defining a data frame is like pandas dot d capital and f capital in data frame, and whatever data we want to create a data frame of, the data frame can be this data, no, data type of this data object can be of like list, or can be a matrix. Okay, then we can define indexes also, like whatever index we want. Like if I have a data of like 10 items, then I can define my own indexing method. If the data type data object data values are more than 10 rows, then it will be like really problematic to understand and remember those indexes. So in such a situations we cannot define index. So by default index can range from 0 to all 0 to whatever our length or number of rows are there. Then we can define column names also using these columns using this columns command. Okay, so for defining a column names, it is we can provide the columns in the same way how we define index, like in the square brackets and in list format. Okay, and then data type also of that particular whole data frame. And okay, so let us define a data frame which is an empty data frame. So for defining an empty data frame we can use this pd dot data frame only command, and when we call this function it will define a data frame, and that data frame will be assigned to this df function. Okay, and when we print this df, there will be like empty array. Okay, or I will show you how after printing only df there will not be anything. So this is a data frame which is having no rows and no elements. Okay, so let us create a data frame from list. So here I have defined a list of numbers, and which are having like 7 items in it. And for defining list we use the same method as we have used this square brackets and then list. And for creating this creating a data frame from this list, we have to assign this data as a parameter in this data frame function. Okay, so here we can use the same way like pd dot data frame, and in parenthesis we can give the list name, whatever list name we have defined. Okay, so here my list name is data, and now when I run this command, here we can see that this particular list has got converted into a data frame whose column name is 0 and whose indexing starts from 0 to starts from 0 and ends at 6. Okay, so basically there were 7 items, that's why this is the indexing position. Now let us define a list from list of lists. Okay, so this is a list, data is a list which is having items that are also a list. Okay, so this is another way of defining a list. So this is one item of this entire data list. So this is the first item, this is the second item, and this is the third item. In this first item there are two entities, or this is also a list which is having Ajit as one entity, and 10 is its value, or that can be his age or whatever we define. The second in the second item there is the first item is name and the second item is age. Okay, so this is a different list and I have defined. Okay, and now I wanted to form a data frame from this list. So here we can have like whenever we have a list of such a type. Okay, so here we can see the dimension of this list is 2, and dimension of this particular list was 1 because it was a straight array. And when we define this list into an array type, the dimension will get changed to change the to 2. Okay, and whenever we wanted to form a data frame from this type of list, so for that we can use this pd.dataframe command. Now I will define a like a demo type data frame. So sorry, pd dot data frame of just data. So when I define a data frame of this type of list, so here we can see it has clearly formed two columns. In first column there are elements having the names, or the first entities have got located at the first column, and whatever entity was at the second, it has got located at the second. So this is how we can define a list. Now if I wanted to assign some names, so for that we can use this columns method and we can assign the names using this. Okay, so guys, I wanted to know am I audible or am I clear to you? Because currently the rain has started and it might cause some
Yes,
problem.
sir.
So shall I continue with this
Sir,
or
sir, I wanted to ask something.
Mhm. Yes,
Sir,
ask.
we get a recording of these sessions. Like, have,
Mhm. Hello.
hello,
Tell me.
sir, will we get a recording of these this session for
uh,
reference and all?
so I am posting all these recordings on YouTube. So just go to YouTube and visit our channel Vision NLP. There you can see the recordings. Okay. And
And sir, these notebooks.
yeah,
Does
yeah.
the channel have these notebooks also? Or?
No, the channel doesn't have these notebooks, but we
Okay.
have created one link at PyLab, named PyLab or GitLab. Like, do you know GitHub? There is a same version like GitLab,
Yes,
and
sir.
we are posting all these notebooks over there. So you can have these notebooks from there also, or we will share the links of these notebooks on the group.
Yes, sir. That will be great. Thank you, sir.
Hmm. So am I audible, or there is lot of noise present right now?
So it is clear. It is clear. There's no
So
noise.
okay, so I will continue. So whenever we wanted to assign column names, we can use this columns function, and in list format we can provide the names whatever name we want to assign. Okay, so like here I have assigned the name to this first column and age to the second column. Okay, so these are my column names, and we can see the same data frame with the column names written over here. Okay, now for getting data type of each and every variable, we can use this function, inbuilt function data types, and it will provide us whatever data type is of that particular function. Okay, so basically whenever you are using a very large data frame, a data frame which is having like 10 columns, so and you wanted to know what are data types of each and every column, so for that we can you can use this data types function. Okay, now let us define a list from a dictionary. Okay, so basically you know that the key name of a dictionary has to have a string or a integer. So here I have defined a key name as a name and no, as a strings, and now the values of that for that particular key can be a integer, can be a string, or can be a list or whatever. Okay, so here we have defined a list. So value of this name string or key name is Tom, Jack, Steve and Ricky, and the value of this age key is 28, 34 and all. So we can whenever we define a data frame from such a dictionary, the names or the key names are taken as column names, and the names and the values are taken as the rows. Okay, so this way we can define a data frame. Now like also we can provide our whatever index we want, like here there are 4 items, that's why I have kept like ind1, and ind1 only stands for index 1, index 2 and index 3, index 4. So this is how we can define an index value to a pd.data frame also, or data frame also, the same way we have defined indexing for series object. Okay, so let us move on to this second example. A list can have so we are going to define a data frame from a list of dictionaries. Okay, so basically we have defined a list which is having n number of dictionaries. Okay, so each and every item from that list is a dictionary type. Previously we have seen an example whose items were of there was defined a list whose items were of also list type here in this example, and now we are defining a list whose items are of a dictionary type. So in the first item there are only 2 keys, a and b, and in second item there are 3 keys. So whenever we form a data frame of such a dictionary, so what will happen, the first item will get the names of the keys of that dictionary, whatever dictionaries are that are taken as column names. Like here there are 3 keys, basically a, b and c, so these names are taken as the column names, and whatever item we are or the values of that keys in that particular item are taken as the entity. Okay, so this is the first item, and value for this key a is 1, value for this key b is 2, and value for key c, there is no key c, so that's why there is nan present over here. That nan means not available or a null. Okay, so this way we can define a data frame from list of dictionaries. Now let us see how we can add rows to a data frame. So for that we have to make sure there is one previous data frame. Now here I have defined a data frame of list. So the first data frame will have 2 rows. One row will be will be having values 2 and 3, and another will be having values 4 and 5, and column names of that particular data frame will be ab, and another data frame I have defined in the next data frame. The values first row values will be 4, 5, and second row values will be 6, 7, and column names will be a and b itself. Okay, and whenever we want to append this data frame second with data frame 1, then we can use the same way as we have appended items in the list, like using this dot append command. So in df, when dot append df2, this command will make sure whatever values these are, whatever this data frame is, so below that particular data frame, this data frame will get appended or get attached. Okay, so whenever I run this command, this particular data frame, and we will print this data frame, so here we can see that these two data frames have got appended to each other. Okay, so this is how we can append a data frame. Now if I want to delete rows from a data frame, we can use this df.drop command, and whatever element or whatever number is given over here, that number is basically the index number. Okay, so here for the index 0 there are like four numbers, or we can just change the indexing using this df dot, let me see. We can like change the data frames indexing using these commands. Okay, I will not go through it because there is no light right here. So and then we can drop a row which is having index number 0. So basically in this particular data frame there are two rows which are having the same index number, because we had just appended the second data frame with the first one. That's why the index position are not different. Okay, so whenever I run this command particularly, all the rows which were having index position 0, that will get deleted, and only the remaining rows will get displayed. Okay, now we will define a data frame from np.array. So basically I have not taught you np.array, but we will later positions we will go on to that. So basically what this command does, so we will import numpy library in the format of np, and we are going to generate random numbers from that particular library. Okay, so in this particular command, when we run this np.random.randn, this command will do it will take random numbers from standard normal distribution, and the number of items or the number of random numbers will be 5 cross 3. So basically there will be like 15 random numbers generated from standard normal distribution, and those random numbers will get aligned in 5 rows and 3 columns, basically in matrix format. Okay, so and so we will define only up to this. Okay, and I will comment all the things. Now here you can see a data frame with the column names 0 1 2 0 1 and 2, and these random numbers have got aligned into 5 cross 3 data frame. Okay, so and now if I wanted to assign column names to this particular data frame, so for that we can use this columns command, and we can have the column names printed over here. Okay, so now to get descriptive statistics of this pandas data frame, so there is like list of, or there is variety of different inbuilt functions. So consider if I wanted to get sum of all elements of a particular data frame column wise, then I can use this dot sum function, and when I use this 0, that means column wise sum. Okay, so what does this mean? Like whenever I give 0 over there, the sum of each and every row for a particular column will be displayed over here. Okay, now if I change this to 1, now it will sum, like it will sum all the for 0th row position, it will provide us the summation of all the columns, like this sum of these, then sum of these, and then sum of these. Okay, so whenever we provide 0, or by default there is 0 placed over, so whenever we want to have some like row wise, so for that we have to keep 1 over there. Okay, now if I use this, I wanted to get what is arithmetic mean of each and every column. So for that we can use this df dot mean command, and it will provide us the column wise arithmetic mean of each and every column. Okay, so also for standard deviation, we can use standard deviation is a term in statistics. So for that you have to make sure you know little bit statistics, and then you will know this what is standard deviation. So if I wanted to get a standard deviation, there is this by default command std only, and it will provide a standard deviation column wise. Similarly we can get values or count. So consider if there is a little bigger data frame, and I wanted to know whether any data frame is having missing values. So for that we can use this df dot count function. If count of all the data frame, all the columns is equal to the number of rows, then we can say that there is no missing value present in that particular data frame. If the count is less than that, then we can say that there can be or there is definitely a missing value in that particular column. Okay, so this is how we can define we can get or we can observe if there is any missing value present or not. Okay, now to get all these values or all these statistics whatever we have done, like we have got a summation, then we got mean, then we have got a standard deviation, and then count. So all these statistics can be calculated using only single command for column wise. For that we can use this df.describe function. So whenever we use this command, it will give us all the values or all the summation of all. Okay, so basically here we can see the count of column 1 is 5, then mean of column 1 is minus 0 point, then standard deviation, then mean, and these are the quantiles. Okay, or percentiles, whatever we can say, and what is the maximum value in that particular column, that is also defined. Okay, now uh, here it was present minimum value and the maximum value is at the last. Now let us see how to use element voice functioning. Okay, so this is basically called applying lambda function on a data frame. Okay, so this is basically a really useful thing when this is like a quite faster application, or quite faster application, and this will help you to reduce or minimize time also. Now like I wanted to multiply my column 1 with 100, and I want to store all the values. Okay, so for that we can use this type of functionality. So for that like this is another way, or this is the way of extracting a column from a data frame. So for that we can use this df, and then whatever column name is, that can be placed in this square brackets. Okay, and now I wanted to apply some lambda function. So for that we can use we want to apply a lambda function on only this column, so that's why we can use this dot map function. Then dot map, then we have to write this word lambda, and now whatever values we want to store, that are stored in x, but what type of x that will be. So that will be like whatever previous value was, and that value should be multiplied by 100. Okay, so whatever previous value was, that is multiplied by 100. So whatever the result will be, that will be stored into this x, and this function will work on each and every row. Okay, so and whatever values that are whatever the output of this particular function will be written in this format. Okay, so this is the work of lambda function. So whenever whenever in future you have to use the same method for each and every row for a particular column, then you can use this lambda function. Now if I wanted to scale a whole data frame, like if I wanted to multiply each and every element of a particular data frame with with some quantity, so for that also we can use a lambda function. So for such a operation we can use this apply map function. Okay, so whenever we use only map function, so that map function will operate on only the column mentioned in this square brackets, and whenever we use this apply map function, there will not be any restriction of a column. Okay, So it will apply on each and every column that is present in that particular data frame. And now I wanted to multiply each and every element with 100. So for that we have used this star command. Like consider if I wanted to square each and every element, for that we can use this double star command, double star and then 2. Okay, so by using this particular command it will square the value, it will take square, or it will multiply its own value with its own value, and it will return the output. Okay, so basically the values will get reduced and all the values will be positive, because minus into minus is also plus, and there will not be any situation where we are multiplying minus with plus or plus with minus. Okay, so these are the squares of each and every element that is stored. Okay, now so this is how we can apply a lambda function. So now can we rename columns, or can we use this rename function, or how to use a rename function? So for by using a rename function we can rename the columns, like sub part of columns or multiple part of columns also. Okay, like if I wanted to rename only two columns only, like column 1 and column 2, I wanted to change the name of these columns. So for such a situation we can use, in such situation we can use this dot rename function. So for that let us first define a data frame which is having which is formed from random numbers 6 into 3, that means 18 random numbers, and it is having three columns named column 1, column 2 and column 3. Here we can see the names, column names also. Now I wanted to change column name of only column 1 and column 2. So for that we can use this type of syntax. So for that we can we have to use this function like df dot rename, then in parenthesis we have to use columns keyword, then equal to, and whatever column name we wanted to change, that should be given in dictionary format. Okay, so basically I wanted to change this column 1 with this c1 name, then column 2 with this c2 name, and I wanted to keep the column name of third column as it is. Okay, so this is the syntax of renaming a column. Okay, so now like if I wanted to change it, change the column name of this second, like second to c, okay, cpp2, like this is just a word. So here we can see the column names have got changed. Okay, so basically whenever we define we use this type of a function, what it will just print all the things, but it will not actually assign the new column names to the previous data frame. Okay, so for that we have to make sure that we are using this df1 equal to command. And now we can see the column names have got changed permanently. Okay, so this is how we can rename columns. Now indexing and selecting data from a data frame. Okay, so for previously we selected a column only using square brackets and the column name of that particular column. So this was the method of, sorry, this is how we have extracted a particular column from that data frame. But now I wanted to extract columns and rows as well. Okay, but not a particular column, or we can use indexing method for that also. So for that, for indexing and selecting data from a data frame, there are two inbuilt functions named .loc function and .iloc function. Okay, so the .loc function is label based, whatever label is, or it is also integer based also, while the .iloc function is only integer based. Okay, so we will try to see the applications of .loc function. Now here we have defined a data frame and we have provided indexing also for the data frame. So the data frame has got defined from random numbers itself. It is having 4 cross 8 matrix, and so this is the data frame. Now I wanted to extract only column B and all the rows of that particular column. So for that we can use this type of functionality. It's like df.loc, and whatever we define before this comma function, that is called for row values. Okay, so like here there are 8 rows, so we can have slicing over here like 4 to 5 or 6 to like that also. And uh, the column name is written over here. Okay, so this is how we define how we can extract values of the particular column. So basically what this column means, we are extracting all the values of a particular row. Okay, so whenever we want to extract all the values, we can use this column function. Now let us see how we can use slicing over here. Okay, or we can extract values, multiple values of multiple columns. So for that we can use this use a list of columns, or we can provide a column names in list format. Okay, so this is the first entry. We are extracting all the rows. Now after the comma we have defined a list which is having column names. The column names are A and D, so basically we are extracting all the rows of column A and D. Okay, so now sorry, but by mistake I told you that we can provide slicing over here, but we can't provide slicing because this is just a label based method. That log function is only label based, so we can't provide slicing over here. Okay, so let us move on to .ilog function. So in .ilog function we can provide slicing, or we can provide slicing definitely. So here we have defined a data frame with column names A, B, C and D, and now I wanted to extract uh, only top 3 rows. Okay, so basically here we have not defined any column positions, so that's why it didn't like whatever first value we have defined, that will be for rows. And if we don't provide any value at the column location, so that way it will extract all the columns. Okay, so if I provide like only one column over here, comma 1, so it will give me only the values of first column. If I provide nothing, it will provide all the columns but only the top 3 rows. Okay, so what this means, like all the rows that are starting from 0 to up to 3. Okay, so the index position will range from 0, 1 and 2 because it will not take 3. Okay, so this is how we can extract only top 3 rows. Like the same way we can extract only extract the last 3 rows using not the last 3 but after the index position 3, and it will provide us like 5 numbers. Okay, so this has provided us all the rows whose index starts from 3 and up to 7. Okay, so this is how we can extract like last 5 elements, or um, the elements which are having index position greater than 3, greater than or equal to 3. Okay, so this is how we can extract, or this is how we can use slicing in the data frame using this .ilog function. Now the slicing is applicable to both the sides, like in columns as well as in rows. Here we can see I wanted to extract the columns whose index starts from 1 but it will range up to 5, not 5. So the index position will be like 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4 only. And now I wanted to extract the columns which are having index positions now which are ranging from 2 to 4. Okay, so whenever we use only this function, the output of this will be 2 comma 3 only. Okay, so this is how we can extract all the index positions. Hello. So this is how we can extract elements from a data frame using this ilog function. Okay, so we can provide a list like list of indexes also, and a list of column positions also. Okay, so the column position also starts from 0 1 2 3 4 up to like that, and row position also starts from 0 1 2. So this is how this way we can extract elements using column positions and row positions. So for extracting a item from column position, or multiple items from using rows and column values, so for that we have to use such type of syntax. In first we have provided these three rows like 1 3 and 5, and the values that are stored in these particular columns. Okay, so this is how we can get values. So this is all about like NumPy library, no, not NumPy. This is all about Pandas library, and uh, it is just like a trial and error based, or whatever you wanted to know, it will help you out. Where okay, and if you find any problem while using such coding, then don't forget to like comment in the group. Okay, so we will get back to you. So let us see all some basic about NumPy. So what is NumPy library? So basically NumPy library is developed for numerical computing. Okay, so whatever numerical functions that we know, that are almost all these functions are applicable in that are inbuilt functions developed in NumPy. Okay, so like if I wanted to square something, it is also present in NumPy. If I wanted to have develop a matrix, that can be also done using NumPy library. If I wanted to multiply those metrics like element wise multiplication, or anything else also, that can be also done in NumPy library. Like again, if I wanted to have random numbers, generate random numbers from different distributions, so for that also we can use a NumPy library. Previously also we have received, or we have generated random numbers using standard normal distribution using this NumPy library. Okay, so now how to install NumPy library? The same way we can install the same way we can use to install NumPy library as we have used for installing Pandas. Okay, using this command like pip install NumPy. Don't forget to use this sign before that. Whenever you are installing NumPy from terminal, you can use only pip install NumPy function. Okay, so now let us import this NumPy library. So I have imported my NumPy library and stored the whole library with a short form np. Now we can arrange using this NumPy library. We wanted to create a matrix with some with 15 elements, and the shape of that matrix will be 5 cross 3. Okay, so for that we have used this np.arrange function. I will show you what is the output of only np.arrange function. It is like it will provide us a array, or that will look like a list. Okay, np dot when I run this particular command, it has provided me an array which is having 15 elements. Okay, and the elements start from 0 to 14. Now I wanted to change the shape of this array. So the shape of this particular array is it is just a single dimensional array. Okay, so we can check it using this dot shape function also. So here we can see there are only 15 elements, but there are no columns. This means this is just a single dimensional array. And now if I wanted to change the dimension of this particular array, then we have to make sure that we will provide a provide some that type of product which match. Okay, so whenever we wanted to change this type of array which is having only a straight line or which is single dimensional array into double dimensional, so we have to make sure that the number of rows or multiplication of rows into columns should match the number of elements that are present into that particular array. Okay, so whenever we try to product these things 5 into 3, that is 15. So this way we can develop this array. Okay, so now if I write this as a 4 over here, so let us see what happens. it will throw an error that cannot reshape an array from size 15 into shape 5 cross 4, because the product of 5 cross 4 is 20, and that's why it cannot reshape. Okay, so let us reassign it the value 3. Now to know shape of a particular array, we can use this shape function. Also this same functionality can be used in pandas also. Like if we want to know a shape of a data frame, then we can use the data frame name dot shape function. It will give us the shape of, or number of rows into number of columns in the in this format. Okay, so this is the shape of our data frame, that is 5 cross 3. Now let us see how to create an array. Okay, so array can be created using a list, or it can be using a string tuple also, or it can have a list. A list can have a strings also. Okay, so items into a list can be a integer, or items into a list can be a string also. So now here we have an array. We have a list which is having 3 items, 3, 5 and 7, and now we want to change the data type. Like if I only place these, okay, so whenever I run this type of command, here we can see the type of this list is list type. And now if I wanted to change this list type into an array type. Okay, so this type of problems may occur in while you are dealing with deep learning models. Okay, so whenever you the original matrix can be of list type, and you are operating on the need is of np.array type. So in such a situations, this type of error can occur. Okay, or whenever you are like comparing something with something, one list with another list with some numerical mathematical function, so then this type of then it can throw an error. So in such situations, you need to change a list into an array. Okay, so now to change a list into an array, we can use this function np.array, and list, whatever list we have provided, that can be given over here. And now we can whenever we print the output of this particular function, we can see it is an array, and the array is having these elements. Okay, now the same way we can change a list of strings into a array, and here the data type of that particular array will be of u4 type. Okay, so this means it is a string type data type. Now like consider if I wanted to have only zeros, or I wanted to create an array which is having zeros. Previously we have checked how to define an array which is having numbers from 0 to or 0 to 15, and we tried to reshape that whole numbers into 3 5 cross 3 matrix. The same way I wanted to build a matrix with only zeros. Okay, so for that we can there is an inbuilt function in numpy called np.zeros, and when we use this function, it will create create a matrix which is having 3 rows and 2 columns, but all the elements in that matrix will be 0. Okay, so this is how this is like developing a matrix of a constants. Okay, so whenever in a deep learning models, we need to initialize our weights, so that it will get optimized to some number. So in such situations, we need to initialize the weights. So in such a scenarios, we can use this np.0 method. Okay, or whatever constant we want, so that type of that constant we can use. So basically there are two applications like this, like for initiating matrix with a single scalar value. So this is on we can use for generating a matrix with all elements 0. We can use this np.zeros command. Now to get a matrix with all the elements are having 1, we can use this np.once command, and it will return us a matrix which is having all the elements of that are 1. Okay, so basically this is a matrix of constant. Now let us check. Let us do some basic operations on np.array. So here I have defined an array of a list which is having these 4 elements 20, 30 and 15, and the array has got stored into np.array function. Now, and I will define one more list which is having only 3 elements. The elements are like 0, 1, 2 and 3. So whenever we use this np.arrange function, it will create an array, and it will have a shape of whatever number we have defined. So this is like 3. And now if I wanted to change, I wanted to subtract this array b from array a. So for that we can use this c equal to b a minus b function. And now whenever we run this type of code, we can see that it has thrown one error, that operands could not be broadcasted together with shapes 4 and 3. So what does this mean? Like there is some the dimension are not matching of this particular arrays. So for that we have to redefine this function, redefine this array of 4 size, and now we can have this function, have this subtraction done over here. So this way we can see the from all the elements of b have got subtracting from the values of elements that are in a. Okay, okay, sorry. Hello, am I audible?
Muted. Unmuted.
Hello guys. I think because of some internet error that this error was happened. So let us move on. Like now if I wanted to multiply all the elements that are stored into this number b array with some number like 2, 4 or 5, anything. So for that we can use this star method, and we can see that all the elements have got multiplied by this particular constant. Now if I wanted to square all these elements, we can use this star method, double star method, and if we run this command, we can see it has stored all the squares of that particular number. Okay, now there is also there are also inbuilt functions for using trigonometric functions like np.sin, np.cos, np.tan, and each and everything. So this is how we can use this sine, cos and tan functions. So now if I wanted to get all sine value of all the elements that are stored into this array a, so for that we can use this np.sin, and then the number and then the list. Okay, then the array. And now the output of all these functions, I wanted to multiply it by 10. So for that I have used the 10 star np.sin a. Okay, so this is my output. So this is also an array, and it is having sine values which are multiplied by 10. This is the previous values. Okay, now if we wanted to check whether all the elements or how many elements are less than 35, so for that we can use this simple command over the list over this array, and it will provide us array which will tell us how many numbers are less than something. Okay, so the first two elements are 10 and 20. So these are 10 and 20 and 30, these are less than 35, and other are not, that's why it has provided us false. Okay, now let us see matrix multiplication in or matrix operations in using NumPy. Okay, so we have defined a matrix. This is the first matrix. The matrix is defined using this np.array function, and it is a list of list. Okay, and this is my second matrix. Now if I wanted to check the element wise product of each and everything, so for that we can use this a star b. The whenever we use this type of command, it will take element wise product. So that means the value of 1 will get the 1 will get multiplied by 2, and the output will be placed at 1 1. Okay, then 1 will get multiplied by 0, the output will be written at 1 2 position of that matrix. Then 0 will multiply get multiplied by 3, and it will store the value here, and then 4 will get multiplied by 1, and the value will be returned at the 2 2th position. Okay, so this is element wise product of the of two matrices. And now if we wanted to get actual matrix product of two matrices, then we can use this dot product, like a dot dot. And I will not go into mathematical functionality of that. So this is how we can get a matrix product of two matrices. There is another way of doing this matrix product of the two matrices using this np dot function, np dot function, and it will also provide us the same matrix product of these two matrices. Now let us see how to compute sum of all the elements in an array and implement the method on in the array class. Okay, so here we have defined and random number, like a equal to np dot random. So this is random this is generation of random numbers, and if I wanted to get multiplication of these numbers, or the summation of all the numbers, we can use this a dot sum function. And if I use this open and curly bracket, it will show us the summation of all these numbers. Okay, so this is the summation. Now if I wanted to get mean of all these numbers, we can use the same way, like a dot mean function. Okay, like that. Or there the another way of getting sum of elements that are stored into this a array is that we have to use np dot sum function, and then we will provide this a. So it has provided us the same value. Okay, so likewise we can define all the all the way, or all the descriptive statistics like mean, mode, median, then all these things in using this np function. So I will not get into all these things. And so guys, I will stop here, and I will declare that the basic core Python training for or basic Python training has been over. And the next classes will be of, like, maybe of data science, or it will teach you more about statistics and all that. So officially I will declare that all the training part has done over here. Okay, and whatever remaining will be like an assignment. If you see any problem in that particular field, like in using some library, or having while defining an object oriented programming, or anything like that, please make sure that you should comment, or you should text us personally also, text me personally also, and I will get back to you whenever, or as soon as possible. Okay, so let us stop here. Thank you guys, thank you for visiting. लाईटीला तर काय म्हणायचं या